The ASUS ROG Phone 2 wants to be taken seriously as a gaming phone. And to be honest, there is no doubt it really is a serious gaming phone. But what if you're not really that much of a gamer? Is it still worth looking at? Let's find out. Let's talk about why gamers are going to want this phone in the first place. The first is power. Inside here is Qualcomm's new Snapdragon 855 Plus processor. And what that means is you're going to get a 4% boost in power over the standard 855. This goes up to 2.9 gigahertz. But the most important thing is the GPU has been increased. You get 15% better performance with the 855 Plus over the regular 855. That makes a big difference when you're going to be playing graphically intensive games. Now, the power doesn't just come, of course, from the processor. The battery is also important. And ASUS has not put a 5,000 milliamp hour battery in here like it did with the Zenfone 6. It's put a 6,000 milliamp hour battery inside. So the power from this is going to be substantial. 2 days without a problem, we would imagine, from a 6,000 milliamp hour battery. The next important thing is the screen. Now, there's been a few comments recently about expected designs for the Google Pixel and other devices with bezels. Well, bezels, if they're not your thing, you're going to be a bit concerned here, but there's a reason why there's a bezel at the top and the bottom of the ROG Phone 2. And that's because of the way that it's held in landscape mode. Very important if you're playing games, because the majority are held like this and you need somewhere to rest your hands. And that's also the same reason why this isn't a curved screen. It's flat, although there is a slight curve to make it comfortable to hold. The same reason is because you don't want your palms or your fingers touching outside of the screen area. You want them on bezels rather than overlapping on curved screens. So this is designed with gamers in mind. And it continues. Underneath here, you can probably see there, that is your USB charging port. There's also one on the bottom of the phone. But here in landscape, that's again important if you're holding it in landscape mode, because the cable just comes out of the bottom here and you don't need to worry about it getting in the way on the side of the phone when you're holding it. Really important. Like the first ROG phone, there are air triggers on the top of the body here, and they've been refined quite a bit. You can now rest your fingers against the air triggers without them activating, which is a very important aspect for comfort and ergonomics when you're playing. It's also got 2 vibration engines inside now, so you get better haptic feedback when you're using these, because it feels like a proper button press, not just vibration. And latency was a problem on the first ROG phone because it took a while for it to feel as if it registered. In reality, it didn't register after a while. It was just the vibration that came through. But that's been fixed here. What else? There's new Wi-Fi access points. There's 4 Wi-Fi antennas inside here, and there's one crucially underneath the screen here. So even when you're holding it like this, we're going to keep coming back to this landscape orientation issue. The Wi-Fi is not blocked. Again, super important. The majority of users, as far as ASUS's research is concerned, shows that gamers using an ROG phone use it not only in landscape, but on Wi-Fi rather than a 3G connection. So having that boosted Wi-Fi signal is very important for playing games. After buying the phone, ASUS wants you to accessorize and hasn't held back on the number of additional toys you can buy for the ROG Phone 2, all ready to make it the ultimate on-the-move gaming device. There are various official cases, one of which incorporates the RGB lighting effect, and also a clip-on fan to keep the phone's temperature in check. But more interesting is the Kunai controller system with its Nintendo Switch-like joypads, and also the TwinView Dock 2, which has a second 120Hz screen, a fan, and a 5,000 milliamp hour battery inside. ASUS will even pack all of this and more into a special ROG suitcase, along with the phone and a custom backpack if you simply have to own it all. The ROG Phone 2 isn't just a gaming smartphone, it's an entire gaming experience. How about the other important aspect, the software? As we saw recently with Zenfone 6, ASUS has adopted a clean-looking Android skin over the top of regular Android, unlike its previous Zenfone examples, which had a much more customized look. Well, there's going to be two versions of this, but if you live outside of China, you're only going to have to think about one. Really excellent news on this. In China, this is going to run Android with a custom user interface over the top, and it's going to look a lot more like the original Zenfone. So a highly customized, very much on-brand user interface. However, if you live internationally, when you start up the phone, you're going to have the option of either choosing that type of look if you want the full ROG experience, or you can have the clean Android interface that you're basically seeing here. And this is really superb news. It's going to make the phone more usable on a daily basis, and you're not going to have to worry about dealing with complicated user interfaces. And that's going to be selectable at startup, so you don't even need to dig through menus to find it. That doesn't mean you're going to be missing out on any special features though. You still have ASUS's game console hidden as a menu option. And what this does is keep all of your games together, but crucially you can set up different profiles for the game that you're going to play. So you can max out the CPU, you can keep the temperature under control, you can keep your notifications under control, you can change absolutely every aspect about how you play that game. That's really, really cool. Underneath here as well, you have options to customize the air triggers, you can customize the fan speed when you have this accessory fitted. You can even change the system lighting on the back for that really cool ASUS ROG logo there. Also under here and under the scroll down menu is something called X mode, and what this does is boost CPU performance and make sure you play your games at the very best of what's available from the phone at that time. What about the screen? Well, it measures 6.6 inches and has a full HD resolution. What's important here is the 120 Hz refresh rate. That means it's a step above what we've seen recently on the OnePlus 7 Pro, and it means even smoother graphics, less blur. So that means better experience for game playing, and it's easier on the eyes too. ASUS has also improved the touch latency, so you get faster button presses. Again, very important when you're playing games. Now with all of that tech, that big battery, and of course the monster processor, that means this thing's going to get pretty warm, or at least potentially get pretty warm. Well, ASUS has thought about this, and there's 3 stages of cooling inside the ROG Phone 2, and most of the time you'll get 1 stage of cooling, and that's the heat pipe. Well, this is different inside here. You get a 3D vapor chamber, which is more effective than the regular heat pipe. There's also now a proper vent on the rear. On the first ASUS ROG phone, the vents on the back were actually fake. They didn't do anything. But this is a real vent, so you get more heat dissipated easier outside of here. And then finally, you get one of these. This is the Aero Active 2, and it clips onto the back of the phone itself. So it slips, if I can, into there, and then squeezes onto the back of the phone. That is a complete fan unit on the back of your phone. So that reduces the temperature by 5 degrees on the back of the device, and it's 4 times quieter than the original. So it's far less intrusive. It still adds in a USB Type-C connector and a 3.5mm headphone socket. Normally you'd have to use it on the side here if you wanted to. So this is a really beneficial upgrade, not just because of the cooling, but because again you can use the phone in landscape and have both your headphone and your charger coming out of the bottom without worrying about heat. So everybody benefits from more speed and better cooling because it means better performance. So as a gamer, of course, it's obvious straight away those are the main reasons you would buy this phone. But what if you're a casual gamer and you still need your phone to work every day under all circumstances? Well, there's still good reasons to buy the ROG Phone 2. The camera, for example, is a significant upgrade over the first version. What ASUS has done is incorporate the same dual lens camera found on the Zenfone 6 into here, and we've been pretty impressed with the results from the Zenfone 6. That means this is a 48 megapixel main lens and a 13 megapixel wide angle lens next to it. There's a dual LED flash at the side, and then round the front there is a 24 megapixel selfie camera just there, and that's been sensibly placed so that once more when you're in landscape orientation like this, it's not blocked. It's inside the bezel rather than inside a hole punch or anything like that, so it's ideal for live streaming games. So let's talk about the size. This is not a small phone. It is also not a light phone. It's 240 grams. That's a serious weight, certainly compared to many of the flagship phones we've seen this year, which hover around 200 grams. And it is a big phone in your hand. However, ASUS has really thought about this. It's 78 millimeters wide, which according to them is exactly the right size for using this with one hand and also for landscape mode gaming like this. So, at its heart, as with everything else, this is designed for gamers, but it's also been well thought out for everyday use despite the large size and the heavier than usual weight.